became a staff volunteer, but real staff. I walked across the hot coals 13 times. I did the mind revolution 5 times, and I was the guy at the end of the coals that when somebody walked across, and what you do is you hug them, because you want to anchor that feeling right at that moment, that instant that they come off there and they realize what they've done. And then you give them a big hug, and then they'll always remember it. You know, if somebody hugs them, they'll remember they walked across fire. So, and that was one of the things that I did, and I almost got my entire body crushed by one of the guys from Hollywood who was a sound, I don't know what he was, a sound man. He did stuff. He wasn't an actor. He was like this. He had a Oscar. He had a chest like yours, but he wasn't as tall as you. He was huge, and he almost broke my bones. But that's the kind of stuff that I would do. And once I decided that I was going to get burned, because to prove to myself that what I was doing was not just mind over matter or whatever. So I went across knowing that I was going to get burnt by the coals this time, but controlling the burn. I didn't want to end up in the hospital like many people did. And so I got the blisters, and then Tony said, okay, you want to get rid of the blisters? You put your hand under your knee like this, and you keep it there tonight for at least a half an hour. And we had to get up in 4 hours. So and you do that, and then the blisters will go away. And sure enough, they did, because again, mind over matter. I don't know what, there's no medicinal reason or, doctor thing. That's what we did. So that was great times. Sometimes I forget about that. But there is a board, that board there that you see, you can pull it out. Just pull it out. Push the other stuff on the floor or wherever it goes and pull it out. Okay, this board has a date on it, 10/7/84, and then another one, 10/22/84. And it was in 1984 that Tony came back to us staff and told us, do you want to break boards with your hand? And yeah, of course. And he says, I'll teach you how to do it in 15 minutes. You don't have to go through all this yoga stuff. So we went to a gym or someplace. He had all of these boards lined up. We held the board, and he showed us how to do it. And then a partner would hold the board, and then I'd break it, and then I'd hold the board, and he'd break it. And so that's one of the boards. And it was in October of '84 that I, and all the trick was, all he had to do is tell us, now this is what you have to do. You have to think past the board, so that what you're really aiming for is this person's solar plexus. So that's what you have to aim for. And if you know that that's where your fist is going to go, then it'll go through the board. And it did. It worked. I did it. I tried it once after that, and I hurt my hand. But by getting into that particular state that Tony was able to put us into, I broke boards. I don't know. There's just too much of it. It gets beyond me sometimes. I was in my 60s before I became an artist for real. I mean, I went to art school, but it was an alternative art school. Laddie John Dill, I have a piece of his in the bedroom, was one of my instructors. A full-blown artist who makes his living, good living, by making art. All of the teachers were professional in some form of art, and they were my teachers. And so I was, and because it was alternative, even though it had the banner of Santa Monica College Art School, we were still art school, not Santa Monica College, because we had our own premises, and we did things there. And the teachers were great. They let me do the stuff that I wanted to do, And when I did something that was good, one of them would say, oh, that's a piece of shit. And the other one would come by and say, wow, that's the best thing you've done. And neither of them hurt me or helped me in any way, because I was sufficient unto myself. And the other students, who were all just barely out of their teens, their early 20s, and studying to be real artists, if Laddie, and Laddie wouldn't say it, but one of the women artists would say to one of them, "What the hell is that? That looks like just rags," And the woman broke down in tears and cried. She said, "That's my memorial to the Scottish students who were shot at school," because it was, and she was from Scotland, and so she made this, I don't know, piece, installation. She made an installation that had all of these bloody rags, and it also had other stuff that you could understand that this was a memorial. And one of the teachers told her it was just a bunch of rags, and she cried. She really did cry. And that teacher made lots of people cry. I was in her class, I don't know what the hell the name, I don't know, it was something about art, and it was all women, and the teacher was a woman, and I was the only man there. And I got into fights with those women. They would say things, and I would disagree, and I'd say, give it up. We're people. You're a person. You don't have to blame everything on men. So I really did get into a real shouting match with one of the students, and eventually we made up, and it was okay. I was close enough to these kids that when they went away to the desert on an away trip, I was one of the few students in the group, in the clique, that was invited, and I was the oldest one there. So, but obviously I got along very well with them. And in fact, I got along too well because I was at a party at one of the cabins that we were staying in, and I walked out to look at the stars and everything, and I was smoking a joint, and then looking at the stars, smoking a joint, and then, where do I go? I'm lost. I don't know where to go. So, but I found my way back, or somebody found me and took me back, so that was okay. But yeah, they were good friends. They were very good friends. And most of them were in their 20s, early 30s. And it didn't make any difference because they were doing things that I liked, and older people were not. And I met, or was talking to a friend recently who said, yeah, all of my friends are at least 20 years younger than me, and many of them are much younger than that too. Because the old people, meaning people her age, are old people. They're old. They're like I am now with a cane or a walker or something like that. And obviously they weren't. They were active. They were climbing mountains and all the rest of that. And I went along with them. I mean, that's what I did. I took my Paulette, we'll call it Paulette from now. That's the 23-year difference. I took her to Yosemite, and we climbed rocks, and we